This is Trayvon Martin. He was shot and killed on his way home from buying Skittles because he was profiled as a criminal due to his race by a man with no authority to use lethal force on anyone. This vigilante got off without punishment. This is Freddie Gray. Freddie was arrested for drug-related crimes. He was placed in a police van and sent to the police station. Upon arrival to the police station, he was in a coma that later resulted in his death. The coma was brought on by the savage and unnecessary beating he received from the officers while in custody. These stories are only a few of the many times the police have brutally assaulted unarmed African American individuals. In the past year, 26% of Americans killed by the police were attributed to African American citizens despite being only 13% of the population. Increased media exposure of these lopsided figures and crimes has helped this important issue gain the traction necessary for real change to occur. One of the inspired vessels of change, the Black Lives Matter group, was established to protest police brutality. The movement, however, was not very successful and did not accumulate enough press coverage to bring the kind of change required to solve the problem. With no end to police brutality against African Americans in sight, all hope for a movement seemed to be lost. Until Colin Kaepernick, then quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, took a knee during the national anthem in protest of police brutality against African American individuals. Many other football players have since joined Kaepernick's protest in hopes to bring about change. This protest has been taking place for over a year now, and instead of talking about bringing change to the topic of protest, they are talking about whether or not kneeling for the flag is disrespectful. What the NFL players are doing in regards to protesting is perfectly okay legally, socially, and the infinitesimal disrespect they are showing the flag is nothing compared to the disrespect that the racially profiled have to endure in their daily lives. The NFL players are exercising their First Amendment right to freedom of speech, and their freedom of peaceful protest. According to Cornell Law School, people cannot be held liable, either criminally or civilly, for anything written or spoken about a person or topic, so long as it is truthful or based on an honest opinion, and such statements. We as human beings cannot hold them liable civilly for the protests they are conducting, because of the very prevalent nature of racism in our societies near and far. In continuation of this topic, the argument against the First Amendment is that the NFL is a private entity, meaning they have power over their ability to stand or kneel for the flag. This, according to the Society for Human Resource Management, is protected under the National Labor Relations Act. This act broadly protects workers' right to engage in protected concerted activity. This means that they are protected to engage in political advocacy if it is job-related. You can argue that this is job-related as it pertains to African American players' safety. The amendment is also protected as speech against the government because the government funds certain aspects of the NFL, including the pre-game patriotic displays, allowing the issue to be constitutional rather than work-related. The intent behind kneeling for the flag is to combat the racism that is prevalent in our country. According to USA Today, 52% of Americans polled believe racism is still a very serious problem in our country. The numbers do not lie, racism still exists in our country to this very day. If you have watched the news at all in recent time, you have come across stories where innocent African Americans were gunned down by police for absolutely no reason. NFL players taking a stance and using their platform to generate a highly talked about protest is a great movement that is shedding extreme light on racism in America, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Colin Kaepernick explains, "I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. To me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the street and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder. He realizes that America has racial inequality and that it is time for someone to stand up for the oppressed and start talking about this issue that makes headlines for a while only to disappear until the next racist crime. Prior to this movement, racism has been swept under the rug in our country, practically a non-issue. No one should be able to dispute the message they are trying to get across through this protest, and it should be applauded in every way, shape, and form. Those who elect to argue against their movement always tend to turn to the argument that the NFL players are disrespecting the flag. This is far from the truth. According to the Huffington Post, kneeling for the flag is not as disrespectful as many things that the average American does to the flag daily according to the original flag code. Anytime an NFL player gets injured on the field, as a form of respect, players will take a knee while they are being tended to by the team trainers. To argue that kneeling for an injured player is respectful while kneeling for the flag is disrespectful is hypocritical. Kneeling for the flag should be viewed as showing respect to an injured country. According to the flag code, wearing any form of clothing with the American flag displayed is considered disrespectful to the flag. A lot of Americans, however, still wear these garments. It is also disrespectful to use any disposable flag products, such as napkins or miniature American flags on toothpicks. You see these everywhere on the 4th of July, but nobody is getting offended when others are using the flag to wipe sauce off their mouths or to pick chips out of their teeth. If you have seen any company use the American flag in their advertisements, they are in direct violation of the flag code. They are disrespecting the flag to appeal to the people that love it most in order to sell products. These are common everyday things that people do to disrespect the flag, and they are not doing it to help make our country a better place to live in. If people are willing to tarnish the name of NFL players for standing up for what they believe in while they are quote-unquote disrespecting the flag, then they should be able to adhere to the flag code themselves without fail. Every single day innocent African Americans must be worried about the country they live in and how they will be treated within the country. Just when all hope was lost on finding refuge to the issue, Colin Kaepernick started a movement that took the country by storm and began to bring attention to something that is very deserving of it. There are people who disagree with this movement, but they could not be any more wrong in their justification of their stance. What they are doing by creating this movement is going to create a fair environment for individuals of color who otherwise would not have had the opportunity without this protest. The longer they continue this protest, the better chance our country has at creating racial equality at long last.